I want you to think about something for a second. You know, you need to ask for more. Maybe it's a bigger role, a stretch project. Maybe it's responsibility, visibility, or even compensation. And you've been putting it off. So you pick the day, you think it through exactly what you're going to say and how you're going to frame it. And then your boss IMs you and says, "Hey, can we push off our one on one?" And you're like, "Of course." And you kind of feel relieved, to be honest. So you reset the date, the next meeting that you're going to have with your boss, and you walk in. Your boss is really frustrated about some things that are going on in the business. So you start to think, right now is not the right time. I'll do it next time. And then the next time gets pushed off for something else and again and again. And you lose that opportunity. You gave it away.
Welcome to How to Get What You Want. This podcast is for driven women ready to claim their goals and navigate their careers with clarity and confidence. Join me as we explore real stories, tools, and strategies to help you steer your career exactly where you want to go. Let's get started on helping you get what you want.
Welcome. I'm Susie. I am so happy that you made the choice to be here today because today I'm going to talk about you. Are you worth it? I wonder if you can really honestly answer that question because you might not be treating yourself that way. You know, that moment that I just walked through, that's a negotiation with yourself. That's what it feels like. It's not obvious. You can't just automatically know that it is. It's very subtle. You find out outside excuse to delay your ask. You let somebody else's needs come first. You back away the moment that something else is a barrier for you. It does make it really tricky because it's really subtle. We're negotiating against ourselves and we don't even realize it. It sounds reasonable to ourselves. They're not just having a good day, so it's not the right time. They have too much going on. I'll wait for just the right moment. But here's what's interesting. There's a ton of research about this. We're really good at creating logical, reasonable explanations of not taking action. And we fully believe them. Actually, psychologists call this disguised procrastination or self-handicapping. It's just a fancy word of saying we tell ourselves a really good story so we don't have to do what is uncomfortable to us. And it goes deeper than that. There is research that shows we'll actually rewrite the reason after the fact to make the decision sound smart. So instead of saying, "I didn't ask because I was uncomfortable," we say, "It was just not the right time for them." And we believe it. We believe that if we had moved forward, it would not have had the end that we were hoping for. There is also something called an anticipatory regret. We start imagining how bad it might feel if the answer is no, or if it begins to feel awkward, or if it changes how someone sees us or treats us. And to avoid the future feeling, we back out of the moment entirely. Not because we're not capable, but because we're human and our brain is actually trying to protect us. But here's the problem. Your brain is designed to keep you safe, not to move you forward. So it protects you from rejection, discomfort, and risk. And at the very exact same time, it will protect you right out of the opportunities you actually want. So part of learning to advocate for yourself is not knowing just exactly what to say, but it's recognizing when you might start working against yourself. And the reason I wanted to talk about this was that I recently worked with this client who knew for a fact that her colleagues were compensated better than she was. She'd known it for a while, and she finally got to the point that she's like, "I need to do something about it." But she felt like she needed somebody, a coach, to help her through it. So we made a plan together. We worked through exactly how she was going to frame it, how she was going to talk to her boss about it, how she was going to outline her ROI in her leadership and in her role. and exactly what she wanted to say. She picked the day, and then all of a sudden the excuses started. Her boss pushed the meeting, just like in the example that I gave you, because there was a major outage. And she was like, okay, no problem. I totally understand. You have so much going on. So that was reasonable, right? Because it would not have been the right time. Absolutely, when there's an outage going on. But the next time when she had a really great relationship with her boss, and she walked in and they were really frustrated. And so they were talking about what was on their mind, how they were frustrated about something in the business. So she felt like they were venting to her. That felt like a way to connect. Asking for something right then just didn't feel right. So guess what she did? She didn't do it. So week after week, that kept happening. And she, having to come to me and telling me over and over, it made her realize that they were excuses. Had she not have an accountability partner, those things would have sounded smart or strategic, the reason that she wasn't moving forward. But then when we were able to look at it in totality and zoom out, she realized she just kept doing it. So we came up with a plan, and this is really good. I think this is helpful. I've used this many times myself, is I had her go to her boss and say at the end of a one-on-one, hey, listen, next time we come together, I've been really thinking about, I want to pitch something to you. And I've thought about exactly how you need to hear it. It's about what my next steps are for my compensation and how I see my role. And just doing that put herself on notice. Yes, it gave her boss also the opportunity to get her bearings as well, which is totally fine. It just meant that she was going to move forward and her boss would be ready. Sometimes, I've talked about this here before, surprise is an emotion we really retreat from. We don't know what to say. And so when you surprise somebody, that can work against you sometimes. We always think that that is the best way to move forward. So this worked really well. So she went and she clearly made her ask. She framed it in a way that was really powerful to her boss. She at least got the conversation. She got a commitment. She got a timeline. And she didn't get it in that moment, but she got it within 30 days. She got what she asked for. So when you go into this doubt, we don't realize that these excuses hold us back. They're very subtle. We think about these voices in our head, or we say we're negotiating against ourselves, and we think it's like we can notice this voice inside us going, don't do this now. Who are you to say this? But it feels more like, oh, it's okay. Don't do it right now. This isn't the right time for them. It's okay if you wait. Noticing that is really difficult to do. That's my point here. And it's really important because advocating for yourself is not about confidence. It's about courage. And we forget that. We forget that it's hard. And I'm not saying it becomes easier. I do think that if you advocate for yourself on a regular basis and you talk about your differentiator and you elevate your ROI, you talk about your successes, you talk about yourself as leaders, what that does is that clicks in for your leader or for other people, your true value. And that reminds them of that. So in these times, it makes it less uncomfortable. And it's really important to do it because we often choose short-term emotional relief over our long-term goal. So if there's a way that you can rationalize this to yourself about framing it, sometimes they say that framing it in that, if I don't do this now, I'm losing opportunity month after month for an increase in compensation, or I'm just waiting till my annual review, which there might be a subtle bump, but there might be other places to do it. And if we don't frame it in the right way, we tend to we do think about it as self-serving, and we need to frame it so that we understand, maybe you're the sole breadwinner. And so it's not just compensation for you, it's compensation for your family. If you are somebody that's a leader, if you're not advocating for yourself, you're not showing to your people that that's important. You might be not doing it so that they don't come to you. That's not the right way to do it. So we miss opportunities. We slow our growth. And our frustration builds over time. And it's all because of us. We resent the fact that our colleagues have been making so much more. That's what my client was so frustrated about. But it was because she hadn't done anything about it. She just waited. So know in the moment when we don't act, we're giving ourselves no before we've even heard it from somebody else. And you know what? Even if we ask and we get a no, that person doesn't unhear that. They know you want more. Maybe in the next compensation meeting, they know you've asked. They know you will ask again. So they'll fight for you. You might be giving them some great context to advocate for you. So even if no, they say in research that we don't like to say no. So the next time you ask, a person who had said no the first time is more likely to say yes or figure it out. So don't let the first no be the final no. How are you going to continue to ask? And ask if there is a no, ask how you get a yes. When can I come back? What do I need to do? So here's 3 ways to handle it better. And I want you to think about these. And of course, I'm going to make it a challenge at the end, like I always do. So think about what you need to pull from, what makes sense to you in where you are, and what you need to ask for in your role. So the first one is recognizing when you're protecting yourself and not being strategic. It's asking yourself in the moment, am I reading the situation or if I'm giving myself an excuse just to move out? Those are 2 really different things. Is it my feeling or is the situation really valid? Because so often when we're emotional and we don't want to do something, we find excuses around us. That's really leadership. It's understanding and being objective about what's getting in your way. So recognize that. How are you telling yourself? Start to notice those subtle hints. I remember my friend Kelly was asked to speak, to tell her story and be a part of a panel. And she was like, why me? My story doesn't really matter. And I was like, oh my gosh, your story really matters. And the very next week I was asked the same thing. And I then recognized my voice is going, why does your voice matter? Why does your story matter? So that it becomes subtle. And I turned that around right away. I was like, oh my gosh, look what you're doing to yourself, Susie. Of course your story matters. Stop doing that. So recognizing that it's not easy because it's so nuanced. The second thing is to stop waiting for the perfect timing. Just go do it. Even if your boss seems annoyed, they're distracted, just told you about budget cuts. I just heard a friend tell me last week that they just cut T&E by 50%. Now think about that. That feels like earth-shattering to some extent. Check yourself. Are you allowing that to say, this is not the right time? And guess what? There's never the right time. That decrease can go on for 6-9 months. So all you're doing is moving the goalpost further and further away for the perfect conditions. And guess what? There isn't any. There aren't any, I should say. And it's not really about timing. It's about facing your discomfort. So understand there's not the right time. You can even, when you go in, say, hey, I know there's not the right time to ask for this, but it has been too long. I need to do this today. So the third thing is create accountability before the moment. If you have an executive coach, use your coach. Tell somebody, say something to your leader, put it on the calendar, whatever you need to do to make yourself accountable, because that closes the gap between intention and action. It's huge. And an outside person, I am such a huge advocate of an executive coach because of the impact that my coach had on me, but also because my clients tell me all the time, I will say, I have one specific client who tells me often, I've worked with her for more than 5 years, that she says, I couldn't do it without you. That accountability means something. And people that don't have coaches don't realize that. It's like the secret um, the secret team that an executive has on their side. So accountability is powerful. How can you get accountability? I'm not saying you have to go pay for a coach. I'm saying get somebody to help you. And maybe not somebody that's your partner or somebody that will allow you to give yourself those excuses, somebody that will give you some tough love. So think about this. You are worth it, like I said at the beginning, to advocate for yourself. And it doesn't get easier, but it's something that you need to do, especially as you go up in your career. It's something that you need to practice and do more and do it now. And maybe you even just say, I listened to my executive coach. You could say, I'm your executive coach, just listening to this podcast, and say, I was challenged to do this. The biggest risk, they say no, but they'll never unhear that. And if you don't do it, you're already getting a no that nobody knows about. And when you sit in silence, because if you don't do it, you're sitting in silence, they assume that you're satisfied. Ugh. You're not. You have to tell them, raise your hand. Over time, your brain learns that this is what we do. We wait, we hesitate, we hold back, and that becomes your default. It becomes the history that you're writing for yourself in the future. And you learn to practice that. So here's your challenge. If you just listen to this and you take no action in 72 hours, this was just entertainment. I'm glad it was entertaining. But I want this to be action. I want you to ask yourself, what do you need to ask for? It could be in your personal life. It could be at work. It could be with a boundary, with a friend. Whatever it is, I want you to take a step forward. Either schedule it, name it, or do it. Because if you don't start to do it, you will continue to push it off. And I always find that when I push things off, I find by the time I finally do it, I'm so grateful to myself. Don't do that to yourself because we live in more agony along the way. Do something in 72 hours. Stop negotiating with yourself. All you're doing is you're hijacking your future you. I'm so glad you made the choice to be here today. If you know somebody that needs to hear this, or if you want to talk to somebody about this, or you want somebody to be your accountability partner, share this with them and say, let's do this together. And then let's reach out to Susie and tell her what we did, because I love to hear your stories. That makes it all worthwhile to me because my goal is to provide impact and insight to people. And when I hear that people have taken action, it just makes me so happy. It makes me feel like what I do is worth it. So you are worth it. Don't debate yourself. It's not. Your brain will always offer you comfort and reason to do nothing. So take action. If this landed with you and you think, oh my gosh, I should talk to Susie about coming in and working with my team and talking about how do you advocate for one another? How do you move through? How do you build influence? Reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. That's what my impact. If you know an organization that you work with that needs a speaker, I'm raising my hand. Let me know. I'd love to spread the word. A negotiator mindset is so powerful, and it's not a skill. It's so much more than that. It's truly a mindset. Until next time, I'm Susie. I'm glad you made the space to make yourself even better.